Okay, hello everyone. Hello. Just give me a minute as I'm also trying to do this live on my Facebook page, and it's taking a little bit longer than I expected, but it's coming up now. I will be starting very, very soon. Wow, it is taking quite a while. Okay, it's coming up here. Yep, and we are live. Okay, lovely. Hello, everyone. I hope you're really well. It's Maya here from Shamanic Coaching. I hope you're well and you're keeping safe during this time. So I think I've mentioned in my last video a little glimpse of what this next video would have been about. And I'm here to deliver it today, which is all about powerful manifestation and where that initially comes from, how powerful manifestation tends to for all of us, okay? And it's something that we often don't realize. And I wanted to make it clear so that it eases out the process for people and we understand a little bit about the mechanics of manifestation, but also so that you kind of shares with you some of the steps of how to create that bridge, how to make things easier for yourselves, okay? So the title of this video is all about our actions that are being birthed through the spiritual plane first, how everything begins and is born in the spiritual plane first, and then on the physical plane, it manifests on the physical plane second. So I'll repeat this because it's very important that we understand that everything takes place on the spiritual plane first. Everything is born the first. That includes our desire. Our desire will plant the seed into the spiritual plane before that starts to manifest and take effect into our physical plane. So even if you're thinking, hang on a minute, I'm a physical being here and I'm having these desires happening with my body within my own physical visceral experience, yet that is, we are spiritual beings, right? We are initially mainly spiritual beings who are having a physical experience. So we need to understand that that's a very essential part of the process. As spiritual physical beings, our desire gives that manifestation into the spiritual plane, and that's where things are being born before they kind of actually manifest on the physical plane. So, and that's really important to understand because we start really then getting a little bit more of an insight into the mechanics of manifestation. And by doing so, we understand that it's important, we understand how we can start building that important foundation for our lives, okay? And we know we need to start to interact with that space, with the spiritual plane a little bit more and more effectively, really, in order to co-create with it in the physical, okay? So this is all about understanding that, the spiritual and the physical plane, they are, existing at the same time and they are in communication. And what people don't realize is that even if we don't feel fully connected with our spiritual experience, or we feel we don't consider ourselves spiritual, you don't have to consider yourself spiritual for that to take place. Yeah. So that is, if you like, the anatomy of spirit and the anatomy and the sort of mechanics of that process. Yeah. So the spiritual plane is there either if you believe in it or not. And so it is better we start understanding how to best interact with it. Okay. And this is what I'm here to share with you. And you might ask, well, why would I want to do that if I'm already creating in my physical plane and I don't really pay too much attention to the spiritual dimension, either in my own experience or in how I go about manifesting? And well, first of all, if you were somebody who was not particularly paying attention to your spiritual experience, you probably wouldn't be on this channel anyway. But let's just assume for those who say, like me years ago, I was kind of really playing that sort of conditioning of my family and ancestral conditioning around hard work, and I do believe in work. I do believe very much about really applying yourself, taking the right action. But when we're talking about things being birthed on the spiritual plane, we're talking about an interaction, an inner experience of really harnessing that kind of like alchemy of our desire, our dreams, our aspirations, the visceral desire of wanting to create something, wanting to be something, wanting to experience something. Yeah. And so rather than just kind of thinking, okay, here I'm completely on my own, just having to manifest this and bear everything on my own shoulders, what we're doing is we are co-creating and we are collaborating with the universe, so that we are entrusting those desires to the universe, but also we start to harness that connection. And that is an important thing to understand, because it is not that you discard or you don't honor the experience you have with the physical plane. You know, you're a hard worker, you earn money, you can make things happen, you can get the things you desire and want. But first of all, we're not just talking about physical blessings of abundance. We're talking also about blessings of love and connection and good things in our life. Yeah. So that you can't just necessarily buy with money. So this is something that needs to be cultivated in a different way. So yeah, you absolutely honor the importance. You honor and respect the importance of the physical plane, the resources you have as a physical being, your skills, your capacities, your energy, your enthusiasm, your will to push forward and make powerful things happen for you. Yet, you know, yes, you do that, but you know, you understand that without the spiritual plane, that the physical plane is empty. Yeah. All these manifestations give you nothing. So it's almost like saying a family unit, let's say, for example, a family unit that is not necessarily connected and happy with one another. Yeah. Or even loving to from one person to the other, or an entrepreneur who's not connected with the spiritual plane, an entrepreneur who perhaps is not always necessarily very much, maybe they're connected to just the money-making aspect of the work, right? And they don't think about the deeper aspects of the work and how much they're being fulfilled by it. So those are some examples, that kind of the sort of when a path that is taken off its light, it doesn't have a light in it, and however, if you are co-creating with the spiritual plane, you're so much more connected to your own soul energy and your own soul desires. And these are not just ego manifestations. We're talking about deeper creations and manifestations that are kind of really serving you in a deeper way. So essentially, we need to understand that the spiritual plane, in a way, kind of almost holds a little bit of the light for us. So it can really help us with the realignment on one aspect, but also on the other aspect is where the space that provides for us the garden and the playground for us to plant those seeds of desire that we have and our dreams and goals and aspirations. Yeah. And so this is the thing that I wanted to talk to you about, is that, there are 4 things that I've identified that are really essential, that are going to help us create that bridge from one plane to the other, because we're talking about a co-created energy. We're talking about, 2 planes that exist on the same time, because they do, and, are really essential, and they need one another. So, you cannot be a disembodied energy and live on the spiritual plane completely ungrounded to your reality. And equally, you can't just be on your physical plane and completely disconnected for anything spiritual and any spiritual value, because it's not going to really be holding the light of that really connects you to your soul, and that is kind of going deeper to your mind, to your ego, and the desires that stem from that. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So the first thing, how do we go about then kind of creating that bridge and really kind of getting more nourished from the spiritual plane and really starting to harness more consciously that relationship with the spiritual plane, so that it starts, showing up in our physical lives in a much more powerful way? So first of all, the very, very obvious thing is to say that you need to make that connection conscious. You need to create that bridge, either through meditation or visualization or some spiritual practice that really helps you connect with the essence of things, and something that is going to be so much more in alignment to you. I don't go blindly deciding and saying to people that they should do this or that, because every person is actually connect with different practices in their own unique way. Like I fell in love with meditation like 20 years ago now. Actually, my gosh, it's embarrassing to think it was 22 years ago. Anyway, but I don't know why I said embarrassing, but it kind of felt like it's longer than I thought. So let's just say that it was for me. I fell in love with it instantly, and it was never an issue for me. I was quite disciplined with it. I never found it difficult. You know, it's a skill. It's a skill that people learn and value quite easily, I think. You know, the beginning just takes a little bit of time, but it's a really powerful tool, but it's not for everyone. Some people might want to do a different practice. For some people, it's through sport, you know, some different through art or whatever. But you know, so you need to find your own practice, one that will help you connect with that spiritual plane more, and that gives you that focus and that attention. And as you start doing that, you start paying attention to also your physical reality. You start seeing where things are out of alignment. You start seeing where your heart is not in the right place with certain things. And you start challenging yourself about the things that you're playing it safely with, and where you're actually pushing towards where you need to be going. So you might find initially, when doing retreats, when I start doing retreats, I realized how a lot of that black cloud that I was feeling, that was actually not that difficult to remove, you know, and there was the option there to remove it, and that there was so much bigger light within me and without me to connect with, and to really bring that blessing into my life. And as soon as I started doing that, and as soon as became aware that I was conscious and able to create that change, and actually a lot of it happened very spontaneously through meditation practice, it just kind of a lot dissipated. A lot of the stuff that was not serving me was kind of falling apart, mainly mental states, because my external life was actually not that bad at all. But also there was things in my external life that really kind of I was avoiding to see, that needed acknowledging. Yeah. And when you start doing that, when I started doing that, then I started taking so much better care of myself. And I started really kind of caring about really, you know, when it came to issues or problems, really developing good quality problems where there were challenges, you know, that really were assisting me to grow, as opposed to kind of like things that were keeping me small. I was looking at how can I take better care of myself, better care of my body, of my mind, my spirit, my soul. All these things became important. And as I did that, that was me really taking care of the best, creating more conducive conditions for that psychic garden, for me to create that space, a nurturing space, where what I've put into it was going to grow into something more beautiful, something more more aligned, something more connected to the desire and to my soul path, as opposed to, you know, other people's expectations and desires, my family's expectations and desires, my university lectures, whatever all the conditionings might be, and conditionings that might not even necessarily have felt explicitly obvious on the outside, but I was carrying those things within me, yeah, in my mindset. So because a lot of it is much more subtle, you know, you might not have like an external person telling you have to do this, but it's kind of like a silent expectation. And those silent expectations are the worst, actually. So what started to happen with me is that I started my capacity to, you know, connect and interact with that space of that, you know, what I call the psychic garden, I guess. Yeah. When we start connecting to us, sort of enhance and harness our spiritual connection, we become aware of the psychic garden, which is a very potent space for growth. But also where we need to take the weeds out, right? And I started taking a lot of weeds out because there was a lot of weeds there. And once you start taking the weeds out, then you start getting really excited and playful in that space of, okay, what I kind of like have all this free space. What can I plant here? Which actually I've stepped straight away into step number 2, and I hadn't announced it. So the first one is that we need to start to find a practice where we start connecting with that space through visualization, meditation, whatever is going to be for you. The second one is what I've just been talking about, which is tend to that space, tend to that garden, your own private garden that you can really, it's the most precious place. Whatever's going on externally in your life, you can keep a very pristine garden, a very beautiful garden that actually, you know, brings a lot of value and a lot of growth in your life. And how you do that is by looking at all the elements for it. You look at the soil, yeah. So as I said, for me, the soil was like, you know, a lot of the times, if you haven't really had much of a connection, the soil might be a bit drier. You know, it hadn't had much of your attentiveness, right? So you need to take the weeds out. You need to water it, and you need to really nourish it. And you nourish it with your own, you know, like to have a fertile ground, you have a ground that's been tended by a person that really cares about themselves, that really is really kind of tentative towards having a life of positivity, a life of growth, a life of kindness, a life of whatever your values are, yeah? Because I don't want to impose my values to you, but really kind of connecting with the light aspect of you as opposed to just the shadow. And, you know, and the shadow also, I need to say this, the shadow has played a very powerful part in this, in terms of how we tended also to the soil. In a way, I'm just thinking now, it's all kind of coming to me as I'm talking about it. Some of it is stream of consciousness, so bear with me. I'm just thinking about, I remember in the village when my parents came from, you know, for a fertile ground, they put shit. So sometimes our shit can be really bring that fertility, can really make the ground really potent, right? It's almost like saying, in a way, you know, the crappy times in our lives, when harnessed, when we work with them, they've got the potential of really, they're good for our soul. Going through some challenging times, they can be good for our soul. So equally, it's the same with our psychic garden, our own place, private space in the spiritual plane. It really needs all of us, really. But when it comes to harnessing and growing the garden, we need to be able to transform those experiences and those shadow experiences into lessons, into understandings and insights, as opposed to us really hanging on to the negativity of what has taken place. And that ability to transform is really our ability to be a good gardener as well, and really tend to the soil in a good way, yeah? So we look at the soil, we tend to the soil, and we create the conducive conditions so that we can really grow good things. So we need good seeds. The good seeds are our good thoughts, are our good deeds, our good experiences, the light side of our, you know, decision making, if you like, that has that positive intent. So let's see our seeds as a positive intent, and our intentions that we have, our goals, our dreams, aspirations. And for me, it was a thing about, I want to be bold with them. I want to plant seeds that are bold, and I want to plant seeds that are kind of really aligned with me. And it's not just about other people's expectations. And again, to bring an example, like as a coach, I see a lot of like coaching that's being promoted out there about, yeah, you can earn all this money and have all this lifestyle, this amazing lifestyle, and like go to cruises and like have the villa and da da da. And I'm thinking, you know what? I don't need a mansion. I don't want to live in a mansion. That's not because my imagination is not big enough. I've got a huge imagination. I can go really wild with it. I just know what works for me, and I know where my values are. And it's totally beautiful and wonderful if you really want to be like vacationing in, like, I don't know, in the Maldives every year, every now, whatever, you know, or be on holiday 6 months, and you can have all that. But what I'm trying to say here, you need to have the Lamborghini and all that, and to have a really prosperous life. Prosperity can be different things. I love having my life in my city, which I adore. You know, I want to be able to buy my own property. I want to be able to, I have a really good life with my son here and my family. I just feel really happy in it. And I love connecting with our local community, and I love what we do there. And there's so much potential to grow, and I see where I want it to grow. But it doesn't really, the Lamborghini and the you know, the helicopter rides and all that, it's not coming into, it's not what excites me, right? So this is what I'm talking about, seeds and dreams. And aspirations that are kind of aligned to you, and they can be much more low key, but they need to feel the right vibration and to vibrate high and to challenge you from your existing circumstances. So it always has to be like vibrationally vibing higher, you know, to where you are right now. So perhaps it's about removing that a difficult mentality around the way you can grow and how you can have what you can have in your life. Yeah. And as I said, equally, if you really want the excessive lifestyle, you can absolutely have it. And, you know, there's no ceiling to what we can create. Okay. So, but it's about, you know what I mean? Or planting seeds that are to do with your family's expectations about having money or having a particular lifestyle, the particular partner that they want you. You know, I've kind of really disconnected from my family matrix energetically in a massive way. That's been extremely hard for my family, and it's been absolutely necessary as a way of really stepping into my own sovereign energy. And that was the best thing that happened to me, and it's been really wonderful to create from that space, you know. But they needed to understand that that was just my path, you know, and that there was not a thing against them, but I needed to follow my own path with that. And I was not there to live their, you know, unfulfilled dreams. So anyway, so yeah, so these are some of the things you want to like, tend to it, your own private garden with a lot of respect and love, and really tend to the soil, really create the conducive conditions through your life as well. You know, one of the things we do in my shamanic mentorship when we start, we look at some of the rituals that the participants are going to be engaging in order to really start creating powerfully, and, you know, what needs to be let go of as well. But, you know, I remember for one of these ladies I was working with, it was very much about taking more rest for herself. She was creating from such a masculine space, and it's something I totally resonate. It's how I used to do things. And there's something very beautiful that happens when you start to surrender into your inner flow that is much more feminine, that is much more intuitive, that is much more in co-creation with the universe, and you're not carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. And you just know that everything you're planting, you're doing so from a place of, you know, you're not on your own. Yeah. So, and we're looking at creating the right conditions. So if you want to create powerfully, yet you're absolutely exhausting yourself on your 9 to 5, or you're working excessive hours, or you're, you know, and I'm not always against that. I think it's okay to work hard to make your dreams a reality, absolutely. But it's doing so in the way that is aligned to you, and it's doing so for the dreams that you actually have, as opposed to just to kind of get things ticking along. Yeah. I'm a single parent. I co-parent with my son's dad. We have a really wonderful relationship that I'm really blessed with. And one of the things we said from the beginning is that we are not going to bend our backs, like bend backwards is the expression, to do things that we hate in order to raise our son. And that's been such a wonderful thing. And I really felt that powerfully in my heart, that's really important, you know. And I'm really glad that we're doing that. And that's really important, you know, for me, it is very important. So, and the times where I've tried to push in a different direction, it's just not been very good for me. So it's about then trusting that what you're planting and the conditions you're creating are good enough for you to plant in a way that is going to, you know, you trust into your own skills as a gardener. So you really put that energy there in the right way. Yeah. You don't overexhaust yourself. And then, so yeah. And then point number 3 is that you need to create a consistent relationship with that space and visit it regularly, not just like once a month. And I'm not talking just in your meditation, but in your daily life. You know that how you're living here is in honor of your private space, your psychic garden, and that space you have. And that means really taking care of the weeds in your physical life, you know, the people that are those weeds that are just taking your energy, or they're just bringing you down, or they're just like not really affirming of you in the right kind of way. And equally, or just the people who are just pleasing you and are just not there in any substantial way, or, you know, just kind of like being seen with you or whatever. So there's just weeds manifest in all sorts of ways. They're not just negativity. It could be all sorts of traps. That could be, you're stuck in a relationship that does not fulfill you, and it just feels like it just pays for things, and you don't trust in yourself to really step out of it. There can be so many different things about the. So you look at that and you start looking at, okay, am I creating am I consistently showing up in a way that feels that it honors that garden through my relationships, the way I show up in my work, or the way I kind of plant seeds, the way I plant quality seeds, and I dare with my dreams, all that kind of stuff. And you really are able to then create that sacred space in your life and in your own practice to really connect. With me, in my work, I do it through shamanic journeying a lot, because that for me is what the shamanic journeys are about. It's just really the perfect thing to do, but also we create the right energetic conditions, and bring the help of the guides that know so much, because a lot of the spirit beings and spiritual allies that we find in the spirit realm, they're there to help us. They're there to guide us. And we can achieve so much more with their help than we can do on our own. And also they get to see so much more than we are not able to see. And it's just incredible that we can have that support. We just haven't been taught how to harness those connections and how to receive that guidance. So I see the guides and all that kind of spiritual support as part of the same parcel, right? But of course, for those who are not connecting with other beings, it doesn't matter. It's just through your spiritual practice, because a lot can happen in that space anyway. So yeah, you create the consistent connection and create that, you consistently, communicate in that bridge, and you really bring those worlds together, but you reflect on how your external life is a direct manifestation of your connection to the spiritual realm. And you start, you challenging yourself where perhaps things might not be as supportive. And finally, it's all about starting to grow and build and create your dreams, your desires through those seeds that you bring. Those seeds that you bring, your intentions are really important, And again, it's that consistency that will help us to then make more aligned choices and more conducive and positive. And the positive, I feel mixed about the word positive, because I feel that a lot of the good, juicy stuff come from a much more kind of like yin and yang sort of situation, or it's late at night and I'm losing my words. It's a more complex and dynamic relationship than just positive. I think it's challenge can be a very positive thing for us, yeah. Or as I said, dark nights of the soul can be really positive for us. So positive, I don't like to use the word positive for that reason, because it can feel a little bit like black and white, and it can be a little bit exclusive of something really vital. But let's talk about fulfilling, for creating fulfilling and really, a deeply aligned result and fruits in our lives. We need to bring those good seeds, that are kind of really bringing the challenge of our soul's journey, because our soul wants us to expand and grow, and it wants us to really go beyond what we experience ourselves. So it will ask us to take leaps of faith. It will ask us to stop playing safe. It will ask us to get rid of our small problems and start creating more important, challenging, quality problems. And it will ask us to stop playing safe in many ways. So in many ways, that it might feel extremely negative for some people, the spiritual journey, or that kind of transition into maybe, engaging in a more dynamic way with our lives that involves the spiritual plane a little bit more, and that kind of like what we do, how we connect with our spiritual identity more. So for many of us, it does mean, for many people, will mean actually having a complete destruction of life as they knew it, and to start making some big shifts, because not everybody's ready for it. So, but I kind of wanted to come in and share with you this, that it is a very important thing that we understand, that the spiritual plane is where everything is born first. Everything is born, that everything exists on the spiritual plane. It is not a make-believe world. It's a full-blown experience that is, in a way, more even real than this, way more real. This is an illusion that we experience, and a lot of the times we we don't see that. But for me, I feel that this is just a really fun illusion to have fun and play with, to use in a way, to harness in a way that's going to make our most of our fucking incredible lives, and to really manifest from a place. And when I say, I need to emphasize, when I talk about manifestation, I'm not just talking about abundance and money and all that. I'm talking about creating tangible things, creating and bringing into life things, and experiences. And it's not just about money. So for me, the physical plane is, the beginning is like a full on, when you think about it, and when you realize all the shit that you go through, and then you start playing more with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you start realizing, okay, so you start identifying less and less with the, good and the bad and the ugly. And you're just thinking like, you just have a bit of red and a bit of yellow and a bit of blue, and you just see it as colors. So you see it as things that you can play with and alchemize, and you're just becoming the alchemist. And it's less about the bad or the good, and it's more about you creating this, you mixing this, and you blending it into this. And this is giving you something else. And you can do some extraordinary things when you start removing the attachment of the good and the bad, of like what is happening to you. And you just distill the lesson, and then you start making the most of it. And your values will be absolutely necessary. When you start dealing with energies that are going to also be not so pleasant and not very good towards you, I'm very powerfully meeting them head on. I know how to transform them, and that adds more value and more power into your capacity as a alchemist and as a gardener to your own experience, because all that stuff brings best quality into your soil to manifest from. And I will kind of leave it there, being aware that the video took about 30 minutes, and that's fine, because all that felt like needed to communicate. But, I really felt that I wanted to, it kept on coming in as a phrase that I needed to share this. I've got tons of materials I want to share as videos, so I'm going to come and do that over the next few days. I do homeschool at the moment, half the week he's at his dad's, my son. So it does mean that, when he's here, I just want to be with my son, to be honest. I don't want to do much. At the moment he's sleeping, and we've got a new cat in the lounge, so she's sleeping there, which is normally where I share videos from. But now I'm in the bedroom, one of the bedrooms, so I'm there. But I want to leave it there. I would love to know your questions if you have any. And I want you to get to think about your own garden right now, where you're at, irrelevant to if you have a practice or not. Do you feel that you're connected to your own private garden, that really private sacred space within you where you can grow things from? Do you feel that it's something you know how to cultivate? Do you feel that right now where your life is at, that it's bearing fruits that you enjoy? Do you feel connected to your own power as an alchemist and a gardener, to really harness the potential and the ingredients you have, all those ingredients that are going to help you create what you desire? And please share with me, and share with me the impressions of this video, or any questions you might have. I'd be very happy to answer. And and I will be coming soon with another video. I will tune in to see what's the best one to come, because I have, as I said, a few materials that really need to be communicated. And I hope you have a lovely evening, and lots of love. Okay.